if this works with you.
Cool.
So first off, I appreciate you doing this. Kind of want to start like with the present more. So can you kind of talk about like with the transition, coming down to Florida has been like, I know you played a little bit in rookie ball and then you had an injury. Just kind of talk about like the last few months.
So transition to pro ball was, I don't want to say a lot, but it was definitely interesting. Going from a Division I to a JUCO, and then to here, it was like everything kind of sped up on me really quick, especially with the situation that we had last year with like locker rooms and stuff. It was fun. 2 professional innings, that I went home, but it was fun. Spring training was a hoop. First game, run out of time that quick. So, the taste that I've gotten has been cool. I haven't had any complaints yet. It's been a good experience.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I hear is like when you're playing in rookie ball and stuff, it's like assimilating to like even like the culture, like the language. Like English is for your team. It's probably like the second language. So what's kind of like that from where you're going, where you're playing in the United States, like in college, even high school, and you're used to this, and you come here, and it's probably must be a big culture shock.
No, not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. No, I was being born in San Diego.
Oh yeah.
I've got a lot of friends who speak Spanish. Also my family, because I'm part Mexican. I don't look like it at all, but I grew up around that culture. Cultures like it, and I think maybe for others, it can be difficult, but I didn't really have a problem. I think it's a different play style. They play not a different game, but they have a different way of playing their game, if that makes sense. But once you get used to it and you understand it, it's so much fun. They know how to have fun. And it's a lot.
That's what I always heard. They're some of the funniest guys. Like once you get, they're always cracking jokes. It's always Alec on guys always told me.
It's a lot of fun.
So you go to spring training and then you get an injury, and that's like I feel like the hardest part, especially when you're just starting.
Oh, it was horrible.
So how do you deal with that mentally and then stay positive?
That's a good question. So I got hurt first game of spring training. It was an inter-squad first pitch. It was a fastball up and in, and I threw it, and I was like, that didn't feel right. My entire arm completely numb, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just adrenaline kicking. So I finished the inning. I threw another 24 pitches. And
but you don't know in the moment.
Not really. I knew something was wrong, but
I think you can kind of get through it.
I tell Billy, who was the pitching coach for that game, and I'm like, I can't feel my arm. So I went to go see Dr. Paletta, and we got an MRI done, and found out that I had a 90% torn UCL. I was like, that was not something I wanted to hear. It was my first year. I was getting excited to, go play affiliate ball for the first time, hopefully, and, to get hit with a truck like that. I've had injuries. Everybody has injuries. But to get hit with the one that you don't want as a pitcher, it was hard. It was hard, especially because I was told that I had a torn UCL, and then I waited about a week before I did surgery, which was insane, by the way. I get an MRI on a Monday, and then I'm getting surgery the following Monday.
That's crazy.
I could have done it as soon as that Thursday. But I think the hardest part was the knowing that I was done for a while. You lay in bed and you're just like kind of like wallowing away there. Like you go show up in practices and stuff, you can't do anything. And I think the way to get over that is just to like kind of look forward what you have. I'm 2 months post-op now. And it's gone by in a blur. I can't.
So what's like the timeline with that and everything?
So we're hoping for a breakaway at spring training. So hopefully I could break away with the team in spring training. But maybe if not that, maybe like a week or two after. Which is I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
This might be a stupid question, but having time to watch the game as much now the past couple months, do you look at the game in a different way?
No. I look at it as if I were still able to pitch that day.
Yeah.
You know, I watch the hitters the same. I watch the defense the same. I watch everything the same. Like I'm still there. Like I went to a Palm Beach game a week and a half ago or something.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go sit down. Like I'll sit down behind the plate just to get the best view.
Yeah.
But then I'll go down to like the sideline or like first baseline. No, first baseline.
Yeah.
I'll go down to the first baseline and I'll like look around and, you know, try to like not pretend but just like feel.
Yeah.
You know, feel like I'm still there and I'm a part of it. I think that's important for the mental health. It's just not completely, you know, lock yourself out.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, then you're gonna get lost in a lot of negative thoughts in a bad way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and you could be stuck like here in the hotel, not doing anything. I mean, you're thousands of miles from home. Like, it could be a hard thing. What would be like the best piece of advice you would give to somebody? Because we have like a lot of middle school, high school athletes that watch us that deal with the big injury. What's the best piece of advice that you've learned so far to get through it, I guess?
I mean, I'm in a much different situation. You know, I've gotten to the dream.
Yeah.
You know, but there was a guy who I had surgery with.
Yeah.
He had just graduated high school. He was a senior. And he was trying to figure out what he's going to do next. And, you know, the best thing that I can say to that is just to, like, not think about it too much.
Yeah.
It's a setback. You know, everybody has setbacks. But if you really want this, and you want it to take you far, you just have to, like, stick to it. You can't overthink it. I do a lot of overthinking. That's a big issue for me. But, like, you just have to, like, stay with it and just make sure that you're doing what you want.
Yeah.
Right, you can't convulge and give in to something that isn't you.
Yeah.
Like there's guys that I knew that were studs in high school, and they get hurt, you know, and they just weren't the same. You know, they attacked it differently. They were scared of getting hurt, which is a very real thing.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing, but you can't live life with fear. All the time. It's okay to be scared sometimes, but you can't. Especially in this game, you can't play scared.
Yeah. I remember Alec, because I've known Alec for a few years, and he had the injuries, and he's just starting to get back, and we talked last weekend about it. He's like, yeah, it's just another chapter in the story of when you look back at my ESPN doc, it's a small chapter that made me who I am.
100%.
So, something that really, like, connected me, like, with you is I admired how you played your college journey and everything with that to get here, the MLB. Can you kind of give like an overview, and then I guess we'll dive a little bit in deeper, like give an overview about your college experience.
You want it in high school too?
If you want to start, yeah, we can start there.
Let's start in high school. So my freshman year of high school, I had an elbow injury. It's called OCD capitellum. I forget what the osteocondyle dissecans or something. Basically, it's in the joint here. I had bone fragments floating around that were causing fluid buildup.
That's great.
Yeah. I didn't realize it. I was my freshman year in the winter, and I remember going to see Coach DeLuz, who was my head varsity coach. I remember going to see him, and I was bawling because I couldn't play.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try out for the winter varsity team, and I couldn't because I couldn't throw.
Because you know when you're a freshman, you're like wanting to make that varsity team to make.
Not even that. It was just like being able to play. Like I knew I had a shot, but I just wanted to play, and then I had to take a couple months off, and then started throwing again. I didn't get surgery, and I remember playing that year on the freshman. I couldn't feel.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel until like the last 2 weeks of the season. But I get hit, which is something I don't do anymore. But I think that experience alone kind of like opened my eyes up to like what was better. So I played that year. I finished out that year. And then my sophomore year, I tried out for varsity. My first full year pitching again, I was like, I think I tried out and I was like 83 to 85.
Yeah.
You know, the velo was okay. You know, as a sophomore, it's not bad. And then like throughout that year, like he just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. I think there was at one point where I think I finished the year at 90 as a sophomore.
Yeah.
And I was a young guy.
Yeah.
I graduated high school at 17.
Yeah.
So, I was a sophomore at 15.
Yeah.
Like 90 at 15.
It's crazy.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started getting a little more interest. And then my junior year was COVID.
That's when I was really young.
So junior year was rough. It kind of threw recruiting in a wrench.
It did.
And then my senior year, I remember having a really good summer. I played with Trotsky, and I got a call from really a couple schools. Not much. I wasn't recruited very heavily out of high school. I think I had one true offer and like interest from like 2 other schools. It was SDSU, USC, and UCI. And UCI was just like I took a military scholarship, so I didn't take the baseball money. And I got there in 21 after a summer in Boise. I played summer ball in Boise, Idaho, with a couple of my teammates who are no longer there. But we played at Boise, had a really rough summer. Could not figure out what the strike zone was. And then I went to UCI, had 2 really good outings in the start. It was like 90, 92, it was okay. I was 17. And then, wheels kind of fell off. I had no idea where the ball was going. Just max effort throwing like 86. And it was like hitting the backstop every throw. I was throwing changeups that were getting melted. I remember that. I started throwing a changeup again. First time I threw it in live AB is Justin Torres took a yard. Killed that pitch for me. And then after that, I started figuring it out a little bit, like towards the end of the season. But at that point, there's no chance of me throwing in the game. So I had a talk with Coach Orloff, and I was straight up. It was like we had our end of year meetings, and they told me that it would be a better idea for me to go to a JUCO, get playing time, and just kind of figure it out there. Like he gave me the opportunity to come back. That next fall, but I would have to re-earn a roster spot. Like it wouldn't be guaranteed to me like it was coming in freshman year. And so I went to Florida, played summer ball out here in the South Florida Collegiate League with my buddy Frankie Carney, who's at UCI now. I had an okay summer. I think I had like a 6 ERA. Still struggling to find the strike zone, but I was throwing a lot more strikes. And then when that was over, I remember calling the head coach at OCC, Nate Johnson, called me because I had entered the portal, and I was pretty honest about it. I'm like, I didn't want to go to another D1. Like, I need to go JUCO route. I need to grind for something. I need to earn it. And so the head coach at Winthrop actually set it up and knew Nate, and Nate gave me a call within like 20 minutes of me hanging up with the head coach at Winthrop. So we talk and we're like, let's get this figured out. And then by then I had just left Florida, went up to Menlo Park because the season in Florida had pretty much ended. That whole team was kind of weird. It was a lot of fun, but it was kind of fell apart towards the end. And then I went to Menlo, played in Menlo, and man, was that fun. That was a game changer for me, playing for the Legends. I've still got ties with them. They're great. I went and played there. I think I played in 7 games. It was over like the course of like 3 weeks. We went up to like Yuba City, like we traveled. We didn't do that here. And like it just like I had fun playing again. And I was throwing I was like sitting like 91 to 94. I was like figuring it out. And then at the end of that, I finished the year out strong. Threw like 11 bats a couple more times, and I went to OCC. And then OCC is like when I really figured it out. I got there at in August, like August time, and we started doing live at-bats, and like I felt good, felt great. Scoring really well, was getting some notice, getting looked at, and it just kind of took off from there. Yeah. So ended up throwing in the sophomore showcase that year. It was like hit my first 95 in game, which was really cool. And then after that, threw more in the winter. Was dominating in the winter. Yeah. Threw really good in the winter. And then spring came around, and I just wheels didn't fall off completely, but I definitely lost a rim or two. And it took me a while to figure out. I got first day of the year, first game, that was an electric day. And after that, I didn't pitch the rest of that series. Then I went to Cuesta. That was in San Luis Obispo. And I remember just coming in way too energized. Yeah. I was like dead sprint, like from the mountain, like from the bullpen to the mountain. That's like how excited I was. And I just couldn't get the ball down. And I threw again a couple more times the following weeks, and it was okay. Nothing great, I was giving up, like I was just walking the house. Wasn't really giving up a lot of hits. And the hits I would give up are like on 3-1 counts where they know fastballs are coming. And after that, I didn't throw for like 3 or 4 weeks. I only had a couple conference appearances. And then remember we threw against Golden West. I threw against Golden West. First clean inning of the year. Yeah. Punchy, maybe like 106 to right field. And I was like, that might have been like it could have been really ugly, but I think it was Jaden Lightburst in right field. I know he died in play. Made me feel so good. Yeah. But that was what I needed. I needed the momentum.
The confidence.
Yeah. And then I threw against Golden West again that week. I went 2 1/3. Yeah. Longest outing of the year. And I remember it was hot. I felt good. And first guy got on. Stolen base, pass ball, or probably a long pitch. I don't know. I'll take the wild pitch. Yeah. But wild pitch, runner on third. Ground ball, pop up. Yeah. It was great. And we were all hyped up because that was our rivalry.
Yeah.
The next inning I go out, I throw. It was okay. And then I gave up a run that inning, and I thought that it was the night. So when I gave up the run, I thought the game was over. So I was like walking off the field, and then they're still running, and I'm like, what inning is it? And so I keep pitching. I finished the inning, and I was like, man, that sucked. Yeah. It wasn't even that bad. That game was the first time I hit a 98. And then I threw again the following week against Cyprus. Went 2 innings, lost the game in extras. And then 4 days later, I threw against Cyprus again. Last regular season game of the year. I was 95 to 97. Didn't walk anybody. Went 3 innings, all in extras. And I had 4 strikeouts. But give up 1 hit, and it was 67 off the bat, just over the first baseman side. I was pissed. Yeah. But I kept the lead. We won that game. We went to playoffs, and we played a team in Canyons who just absolutely smoked baseball against us. And that was it. That was my JUCO career. Yeah. That was my college career, actually.
Yeah, I guess we'll start because there's like a bunch of stuff I want to ask about.
Yeah, go ahead.
For college, so we very similar because we had COVID our junior years. For me, I played a sport that was we didn't make money, tennis, right? So for me, when I was being recruited, a lot of the Division I schools, they cut their program because it was a time where if you're not football or basketball, like some of these sports, like they're not going to keep tennis.
Sports generate revenue.
So it also was one that was hard for recruiting for me because like you're already losing the pool of schools you could go to, and then 2, there was no tournaments, nothing like that. So you kind of lost like that competitive edge. I kind of wanted your take on like the recruiting process for you, because you said it was small. Do you think that hurt you a lot? And then was it hard to get back to that competitive edge when like you hadn't played for a few months?
No, because I stayed throwing, kept throwing bullpens.
Yeah.
We had our masks on, we did it all outside. But I think it was a blessing, because I think it kind of took away from all these big schools trying to, get you to commit there. And I have a buddy, MJ Sweeney, who went to Texas, and he couldn't figure it out, and they cut him that fall. Like, I'm grateful that didn't happen to me, that I got to stay the full year at Irvine, and become friends with all these boys who are doing so well right now. They're ranked 15th in the country. But I think the smaller recruiting stuff was good for me at the time. My recruiting out of JUCO was a lot different. I turned into a power arm that struck a lot of guys out, and the draft I got a lot to play with that. But going from my little Big West school to a lot of Power Fives, the recruiting process is very different. Very different.
Yeah. So when you're going into like college, because you come and you don't have the success you wanted at the start at UC Irvine, how do you deal with that? And like, what were your expectations? Do you think you set yourself up, like, did you put the goals too high to be reached and then made yourself down? I was just kind of wondering, like, what was your mindset going into college?
At UCI?
Yeah.
I think I convinced myself that I was going to be used a lot as a freshman, because I didn't understand how it worked. I didn't even, I remember my sophomore year in high school, I was talking to JT Pennant, who played football at Army, and he committed to Army one day, but he played baseball too, but it wasn't his best sport. And I remember talking about it, and I'm like, aren't you excited to go to Army? He's like, yeah, I still got to apply. I'm like, what do you mean apply? You have to apply to the school you committed to? And so I was a little lost in that aspect, and then I get there, and then, you got 40 guys on the roster, and all competing for spots, and, I thought I could get one, and then, guys are better than me. Guys are just better than me, and
that's probably a wake-up call you wanted, you needed.
100%. You're a little 17-year-old freshman. I think he's going to play this year, and then boom, can't throw a strike. My teammates were really cool about it. I sucked. I knew I sucked, but nobody ever told me that I did, which was cool. Even like during our fall World Series, our Ant versus Eater series, I think I was like the second to last or third to last hit. Probably I think second to last. And their whole thought was everybody's got to pitch one inning at least. And I remember Nick Pinto told me that I was going to start game 2. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're going to start game 2, you're going to get us going early, like you're going to. That was the only clean inning that I had the entire fall. And it was walk the first guy, got a ground out. No. Walk the first guy, got a pop out, picked the guy off at first, and then got a ground out. It was great. They treated me really well over there.
So it sounds like until you went to community college, but correct me if I'm wrong, that whole time you're trying to find that confidence, because as a pitcher, like, once you have that confidence, I feel like you just go out there. That's what we were talking about the other day, is like any sport, once you find that consistency and that confidence, it doesn't have to be pretty, but once you have that, you feel like you can do anything.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So like, is that kind of is that like an accurate interpretation of like what you're trying to do until you get? What was when you find it, or like, do you remember it?
I found it at Golden West. That first clean inning, I was like,
there's just something
about
on top
of the world.
You just needed.
I was throwing as hard as ever. I was getting outs. I was throwing strikes. Wasn't walking as many guys, and that was just everything I needed. I had the stuff. I had the size. I got outs. I was so timid on throwing strikes. But once I figured out how to do it was fine. And you don't really see it click until that game at Cypress. And then that's when you really figure it out, and it's like, okay, that's there. I have it. Now, how do I channel this?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't figure out how to channel it until draft.
Yeah. So once you finish your year at JUCO, and then in your mind, are you like, I want to go to MLB? Like, what was your thought process for your next step? Because you said after that, like your college career ended. So what was after that season? What was like the process?
Yeah, so that was tricky. So going out of JUCO, I talked to my agent about this, and I was maybe like an 18th rounder at that time. You know, my projection, I had good projections, but my school stats weren't great. I had a lot of size, you know, I had a lot of velo. I was 19 when I got drafted. And it's a lot of upside, but it's also risky for some of these teams, you know, like I struggled throwing strikes all year. So that was a conversation we had with a couple teams. I remember talking to a couple scouts about it. And then, you know, going to the draft league, I just had an opportunity to build off of how I finished my year at OCC. If I had pitched the whole year at OCC like I did in those last 2 weeks, I had, we can look this up later off the stats, but I think I had 14 in the third innings. And I think I threw 7 of them in the last week and a half of the season.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think if I could throw that last week and a half for the entire year, give me one hit. Give me one hit to show that I'm human. But I think that would have set me up to be like an easy top 10 rounder. And then the way that I threw in the draft league would have set me up to go even higher.
But it's like all part of that. Can you talk about the MLB? Because like a lot of people don't really even know about the draft league. So kind of going to that.
I remember talking to my agent about it. My agent Mark brought it up. I'm very close with his sons. Like I live with his sons, JUCO, Ari and Ellie. They're like my best friends. I remember talking to him, saying that Ellie was going to go because Ellie's our same grade. And Ellie was going to go, and he's like asking me if I wanted to go, if I wanted to play snowball this year. I'm like, oh yeah, I love throwing. So I went, and I signed the contract in like October. Found out where I was going to play in like May. Like the season starts like June 3rd, or no? Yeah, like June 3rd or something like that. And I remember knowing who I was playing for in May. So I had to buy all my flights and stuff.
Yeah, well, very last second.
Yeah, pretty much. Which I get, you know, like they're trying to figure out all the teams and stuff. Because it's not like these other summer ball teams where you're getting recruited to the team. You're getting recruited to the league. So they kind of space everybody out so that it's balanced. Trades are made, which is crazy.
That's insane.
But I go in June. I remember I threw in the first game. I had the first player spotlight of the year. And I was 95 to 97. Didn't walk a guy. Gave up a hit though, which was really soft out of me. I had 2 strikeouts, and I set the tone for the rest of the year. And I remember just building on that. And I don't think I gave up a run until like my 7th or 8th inning. And I just kept building on it. I was striking a lot of guys out. But the draft league might have been the biggest step I had to take in my game. Just you go from JUCO ball where everybody's a grinder. Everybody wants it. Then you go to the draft league where you've got guys from every single conference. You've got guys from Power 5 schools at the Division I level. You've got D2 guys. You've got JUCO guys. You've got NAIA guys. You've got high schoolers. And it's like everybody comes together. We're all playing the same level of baseball. These guys are good.
This is probably where you kind of learn how to be professional.
Yeah, and it was the whole thing was very minor league like. You know, we had pre and post game meals. The buses were really nice. You know, they put us up in hotels. It was a phenomenal experience. It was great, and that's why I try to get. Because I have guys that ask me about it. You know, like they get invited. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. I'm like if you're in a position to go, you you should go.
Yeah.
The amount of exposure I got from there, compared to if I went anywhere else, was insane. Like I went there, threw a lot more. I led the league in strikeouts per 9. My walk rate went down maybe 10 points, which was insane. I had the most strikeouts by a reliever. Led the league in Ks per 9. I was 5th or 6th, I was good for ERA, but I wasn't great. I had a 2 ERA. And I had one of the lowest opponent batting averages in the league. I had a whip rate on my curveball of 60%. I was able to get stats after every outing as to how good I did. And then once the season was over, I was talking to schools while I was there. Talked to Oklahoma, talked to Texas, Florida State a little bit. Just a lot of Power 5s that didn't talk to me before that. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 Power 5s who reached out to me before that. It was one of them with Oregon. But I went there, and I just remember getting all these phone calls and all these schools reaching out to me, whether it was on Twitter or texting me, and it was surreal because I didn't have that in high school. But the draft league and playing in the prospect game and all that, hitting my first 99. Then posting it and going crazy and everything. It was great. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
So when you're vacant, so you're getting the reach out to you, some of the colleges, and you're in the back of your mind, you're probably I still want to go to the draft and get drafted and go. So talk about that decision because you could have gone back to college.
That was tricky. So I did a couple workouts. I did one with the Braves, I did one with the Padres, and that was it. There was really anything else because all the workouts get done during the summer, and I was in the draft league.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. So I did the workouts, then I went to the draft league, and then I came back, and I remember getting a call from UCLA on my way to go throw, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to consider us instead of the draft this year." It's okay, that's the first time anybody's brought that up. And then it was the same thing with Texas, Oklahoma, all these.
So these schools are starting to get in your mind.
San Jose State gave me a very good offer. And I was hey, we'd like you to consider coming here. You can raise your stock. That was always the argument. It's you come here, you raise your stock. You make more money. And that was the same thing. I talked to Oregon about that. When I was still at JUCO, you come here, you might have to come out of pocket a little bit, but the money you're gonna make afterwards, you can just pay it off right away. It's okay. But yeah, there was definitely the thought in my mind was always if it's good enough, and then out of JUCO, I would have taken a grain of salt. To have that opportunity, and then. Once I started proving myself, we set a number. It's if this number doesn't get hit, then I'll go back to school. Number got hit. I didn't go back to school.
It's obviously a blessing too because you're younger and you get more time to develop. And this was it's kind of I guess it's kind of a stupid question, but. Because because of how you are now. Because I asked Alec this and it was kind of funny to look back on this 3 years later. So, if you had to go about your professional what was your goal coming in? Was it to move up single and then the next day advance or what was your kind of goal to make it through the minors? I guess
one step at a time. You control the controllables. You can control how you pitch. You can't control what they do with you.
So there's so many guys there.
So many guys. And opportunities happen, right? Guys come down, guys don't perform, guys overperform, they get moved, you don't. Things happen. But I wanted to pitch in low A this year. That was definitely the goal for me. I wanted to break camp with an affiliate. But I did what I could. I did what I could.
So this is kind of like, we were talking about like the state of like baseball. So you come here and you're like, you see like how a single A game is. You start out, you come to a rookie ball game. You know, back in the day, you played in San Diego. I imagine the high school, you had people, a bunch of people come to the games. At UCI, so one of the top schools, you see a bunch of people, I imagine, come to the games, big super, regional games, like stuff like that. You know, Omaha's crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
Why do you think like you guys come here and you're professionals and people, you don't see the level of people come out to stuff like that?
I think it's just a different environment.
Yeah.
You know, you go to, like, even in the draft league, right?
Yeah.
Playing at Medlar, at Penn State, you know, it's kind of like what there is to do.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to do out there. When you in college, you know, it's culture. You know, like your friends will come to the game and they'll bring their friends, especially when it's like a big game. Like I remember playing UCLA at UCI, and we sold
It's a
out.
huge game. Yeah.
And it was like the same thing at JUCO. Like when we played in the playoffs, we were sold out.
Yeah.
First game of the year, we were sold out. I think it just comes down to, you know, culture and, you know, winningness. Like every single game matters at school, you know. In the minors, like winning matters.
Yeah.
But, you know, minors are for development.
Because you kind of have, it's for development, and then I guess like the competitiveness, is it, I mean, you obviously seem, but I could tell for others, like it's hard when nobody's there to find that competitive edge, especially in like rookie ball and stuff.
Yeah, and I would agree to that. You know, it's hard getting amped up for like a rookie ball day, but like my first game of rookie ball, like I was like, like where is everybody? You know, and then
because you're on the backfields, like
you get used to throwing in front of a big crowd in the draft league and stuff too, and then
it's kind of weird.
You throw it at nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's a big adjustment too. You know, there's a lot of guys that come from like big schools and then come to a smaller crowd, and I think it's just like there's guys that will find energy in the crowd and then find energy in their teammates. Yeah. You know, some guys that do both and do a really good job. But I think that's where you kind of got to find it, is you have to find energy in yourself and like the ability to want it, just want it more.
Yeah, like I think one thing, like we talked about, like baseball, it does really well. It is, you know, it's obviously an international sport. It does well with very international crowd, and you know, the thing it's kind of like, what do you think baseball can do to get more people? Because like I watch a bunch of the games, but when you go to like, I know it's debated. It's kind of based on like how people do, like result based, like obviously, but like still, you should be doing. The stands should be more filled and everything. What do you think baseball can do to attract like the younger guys?
I think they're doing a good job right now.
Yeah.
Pitch clock was a big thing. Sped up their games. It made it a little more enjoyable for like your casual viewer. Old heads will say that they don't like it just because it's, you know, they're speeding up the game and whatnot. But I think it's good. I think what they're doing now and marketing, like appealing players and like who's doing good, who's not.
That's what I think the best thing is the connection to fans. You see a lot more players out in the community and like
which is huge. And I know, like me going back, like I went back to my old high school and I coached. I think doing that kind of helps.
And I like playing in Mexico City. They had some games there. Going to Korea, like stuff like that is cool.
Yeah, that's a good way to grow a fan base too. And you see other leagues are doing that too. Like the NFL is doing games in Germany. You know, hockey plays in Canada. So, but you see all these other sports trying to venture out because an argument made for a lot of the sports in the States is it's just in the States. You know, versus like you've got soccer that's, you know, worldwide. Like the Premier League is like everybody, you know.
Baseball, the only real area is Europe growing there. Because like if you look at the World Baseball Classic, a lot of the guys are from America, but they have like exemptions where they can go play for a different team. That's the only real area.
Australia is really big too.
Yeah. Jake just went back there, Burns.
The ABL is really big. I had a buddy who played there this winter. They get pretty good crowds there too. Japan is huge.
It's insane.
Japan's insane.
Korean baseball, I remember watching that.
KBL
The KBL is great.
and like in Mexico. Mexico baseball is absolutely nuts. But those are staples, you know. I think it's hard to play baseball in a lot of sports in a lot of countries. I mean, just because it's outdoors. It's not like basketball where you can play indoors, or soccer where you can, you know, be all bundled up. You know, I think playing in the snow is very hard for baseball. You know, playing with white ball, white snow.
Trust me, I go to games in Cleveland all the time.
Yeah, it's I think that's why it's hard to do it in spots in Europe like that, because you know the weather doesn't permit. I think that's the only thing that holds it back, is the weather doesn't permit. Like that league in Dubai that they tried to do, I thought that was cool. I haven't really checked in on that to see how it's doing, but you know, every pieces are coming together and it's growing more and more. I think the more appeal we create for the game, the more it'll grow. And I think the best way to do that is just like, you know, keep staying with the times, not to change the game. The game is great, and the game was meant to be played a certain way, but like the Bananas do a great job. Like they play the same game, they change a little bit of the rules to make it a little more fun.
They attract younger audiences.
Which makes it more appealing for them to keep playing it as they grow up, and then it turns into a more serious thing as you get older.
Now, so this one is another question I had to ask, because you're a pitcher. So my grandpa, he coached in college, and he always talked about like when kids learn pitches and different things like that. Do you think with the fact that kids play so many tournaments, like I feel like every kid I knew had a tournament every weekend, matched with learning pitches too early, that can develop injuries sooner for younger kids that are pitchers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Growing up, I played one tournament a weekend, or like not a weekend, a month. One to two a month, and now we've got teams and stuff, you know, doing it, you know, weeks at a time, like multiple, doing it for like, you know, doing 4 tournaments a week, like a month.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of baseball.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of baseball to play. They're not practicing together. They're not working on the fundamentals. Like they go to their private hitter. Like I'm guilty of this because I trained at a facility where they did a lot of this, but there's no learning the basics of the game or anything. It's just literally play baseball. There's no learning aspect.
I feel like you need to have a time for a break too. Like you can't just play baseball year round. You play other sports.
You can. But
you
shouldn't play it at the same
intensity
all year round. Like you can play a tournament a month and that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But I think these kids get lost in, you know, constantly playing tournaments. It's like that's the only way you're going to get exposure, which is just not true.
You don't have to go 100% year round.
I didn't go to a single showcase.
Yeah.
I didn't play in a single showcase my entire high school career, except for the ones that were like high school sanctioned, that were like set up by like CIF. Like I didn't do a PG one, I didn't do an Under Armour one, I didn't do a PBR one.
Do you think learning like a curveball too soon? Because the way.
No.
In fact, no.
I think the amount you throw it in is important.
Yeah.
I think that there's coaches that get lost in winning at a young age. Yeah. Like you winning your 12U baseball tournament,
it's not gonna matter
with your California elite isn't gonna make you $100,000.
It's fun to say for a couple weeks. You talk about it, then you look back down the line. It's like
that. But when you're playing, you know, 4 tournaments a month, you know that one tournament. That one tournament doesn't mean anything.
You get knocked the next week and you forgot you even won.
Yeah, you win one tournament this weekend and then say you get knocked out in the first round of the next 3. Like, I think that's what youth baseball is doing wrong. I think there's too many tournaments and there's not enough room for the development of the game.
Yeah.
I think that's what kids get lost in, is more than playing the game, trying to be flashy.
Yeah.
You know, like having fun. Like that's a great thing to have fun. But if you want to get good, you got to get good at the little stuff. The only way you can do that is by practice.
Yeah, and the kids get burned out, I feel like, too.
Real quick. They lose love for the game real fast.
Yeah. For you, it's like, because, you know, this is your career, and people talk about not getting burned out. Like, what do you do to stay to not always think about baseball? Because I feel like it's when you're in the season, like you finish a game, you go to dinner, you're still thinking about that game. Like, how do you take your mind off baseball and just
separate it?
Yeah.
You gotta separate it. When it's hard to get away from being in a brace. Everybody asks you, oh, what happened? Who you played for?
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to stray away from it, but I think that's the best advice I can give is learning how to separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with that early on. Even like the last couple of years, I struggled with it because I'd go home from the game, like I blew a save, and I'd go sit in my room and stare at the ceiling for like 2 hours.
Yeah. You can even overamp it. Like, I remember you said like you ran out that outing. Like, sometimes you can just overamp it too much.
So just learning how to balance, life outside of the game and life within the game, and not letting them mesh a lot. Like, they can mesh a little bit, it's your life. Baseball's a part of your life, but not making sure that baseball is only your life. Like, I had a conversation with our mental skills coach, Brian, here, and it's like making sure that you know who you are. Like, I'm not just a baseball player. I'm a lot more than that. I think that's important for kids to know. Like, you're not just a baseball player. You're a kid.
Yeah. Have fun. Go to a high school football game on
Go to a high
Friday.
school football game.
Do stuff like
go
that.
Go to a water park.
Yeah.
Go have fun. Like, it doesn't have to be with your teammates. Like, if it is, great. But just learn how to separate the two.
Final 2 questions. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Good. Take as many as you want.
So, what's like the best piece of advice that you think you've heard over your career, in anything? I always ask that one.
It's a good one. I think the best advice I can give is that no matter what you do, no matter where you go, as long as you believe in yourself and your ability to get things done, you will be successful. Even if you're hesitant, you second guess yourself, and you don't believe at times. If you hold on to this feeling of being able to get something done, I don't think there's anything better that you can do for yourself. I mean, obviously people are religious. Like, I'm religious. I grew up Catholic. I played for a Catholic baseball team. I went to private Catholic high school. I find a lot of things rewarding in Christ. I'm very thankful for everything that He's given me. But for those that don't believe, that are agnostic or atheists, or believing in yourself can do a lot. It gives you a lot of mental willpower and a lot of belief in yourself to get things done. And then, for those that do, you turn to Christ. There's a lot that He does for you that you don't realize, and I think just asking Him for help does a lot.
Yeah, you might not realize it now, but down the line, you'll be thankful and learn a lot from it. This is actually a question I forgot I was going to ask you. So my buddy Ryan, D2, he was asking. So we went to the Marlins Cardinals game at a single head last week. No dig on the Marlins, but most of the guys we saw hitting were in the 100s, right? So we were taught. So you have 100 at bats. This is like a D2 player, like 6'7", well, not like a stud, but he can play baseball, right?
Yeah. He
gets like 100 at bats against an average pitcher in single A. This is with a metal bat. How many hits do you think he gets versus wood?
So, is he facing the Cardinals?
Yeah, I guess we could do just the average single A team. Average single A team, 100.
Well, if we're gonna say the Cardinals, I would love to see him face our staff.
Yeah.
Because that starting rotation is nuts.
I know it's nasty. Yeah.
You got guys like Chen Wei, who is 6'8", throws 100, and it just comes at you like a bullet.
Yeah.
And you got guys like Quinn Matthews, who just absolutely gross. He's a midnight guy. And you got Darlin Saladin, who 91 and 95. And you've got Luis Salas from Mexico, 92 and 95.
It's crazy.
And then you got Davila, who's mid-9s, upper 9s. Jason Savicool, the doctor, who's sick balls and just grossness. Then their relievers are nuts.
I know. Yeah,
I don't know if you met Etre, but Etre throws from up here.
Yeah, Purdue, dude.
Which is gross. Zach Showalter throws from down here, but it doesn't sink and rides. There's gross pitchers on the set.
I know. It's easy to sit there and look and be like,
it's so easy. Yeah. It's so easy to look at it and be like, oh yeah, I can get it off of that. I know a lot of guys that are guilty of that.
Yeah.
But I think once you get in the box, you're in game.
Yeah.
I'm like D2. There's good D2 baseball.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy who was a D2 Player of the Year last year. On the West Coast, so the West Player of the Year, and I was at USD, and he's still breaking, but it's different. Like
they obviously can get a lucky choke out of it, like stuff like that. But there's the difference is,
I don't think he hits better than some of them. And what those guys don't do hitting wise, they make up for in defense or speed.
Yeah. We were always laughing because we were sitting behind home plate. And I was like, dude, look at movement on these balls. There's
you're not touching.
No,
you're not touching.
Yeah. So this is the last question. I always ask it the first time I interview somebody, and it's kind of funny to look back. And it's just because your career started, it's an interesting one. So when your career is over, down the line, way down the line, how do you want to be remembered? It's a hard question.
That is a hard question. I'm going to take this from Dave Tremblay. I don't know if you know who that is. He was my manager with the Spikes last year. He managed the Orioles for a while. I want to be remembered as somebody who did everything the right way. That was something that resonated with me, and ever since I played with him. That was the first talk we had as a team. Just wanted everybody to do everything the right way. And that's not the Dave way. That's not the Spikes. The Spikes way is the right way. When you do things the right way, the right things will happen. Good things will happen. I think just looking at that, and I want to be remembered. Obviously everybody wants to be remembered as the guy who strikes everybody out, or who's unhittable.
Has a big moment in the World Series.
Everybody wants that moment, but you look at a guy like Trevor Hoffman. He did things the right way, and he did it for a long time. And I think that's how you can play for him. You do things the right way. You're good. You're a good teammate.
That's how you come a long career in that movie.
If you're liked amongst your peers, that says a lot. Organizations take what they say from their players seriously. That affects the way people are drafted. College coaches are the same way. When I was at UCI, Coach Orlock asked me about Frankie. And he was like, "What do you think of him? He's a good guy." And I was like, "One of the best guys I know." And they take that and they take it seriously. So the opinion of other people matters, but it shouldn't be the only thing that matters. But just that's all I want to be remembered as is somebody who does things the right way, and I want to be remembered as somebody who gives back. I try to do a lot of that.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
I hope to keep in touch. It's funny because I do these interviews and you look back. I was just I've known the guy for 3 years. We hang out now at lunch and just get to know people like that. And I appreciate you just taking time out of your day to do this.
Of course.
Appreciate it.